It is April 24th, 2016. This is the Watchman News, and I'm Mike Callahan. I was just going through looking at headlines with RT throughout the day and ran into one that is kind of bothersome for me because basically because of the scripture and the way it's written and how it's said. Apparently, there's an anti-racism protesters clashed with police at Confederate rally in Georgia. I'll put a link down in the description. I won't play the videos though because RT frowns upon that. And the story goes as this. Clashes erupted between police and counter-protesters at a far-right Confederate rally at Stone Mountain in Georgia on Saturday. Another rally held in Georgia the same day featured KKK and Nationalist Socialist Movement members. Both events were held within 70 miles of each other, commemorating the upcoming Confederate Memorial Day and featuring banners and signs as well as Confederate flags. Over in the city of Rome, Georgia, the Ku Klux Klan, together with the neo-Nazi National Socialist Movement and the Aryan Nation, took part in a so-called free speech rally in front of the Floyd County Law Enforcement Center on Saturday. Some 70 miles south of there, at a similar rally, anti-racism protesters clashed with riot police at Stone Mountain. Tear gas and stun grenades were used, and arrests were made, but none on the Confederate side. Both groups were out ahead of the Confederate Memorial Day, which is marked Monday. The Stone Mountain protest turned violent quickly, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports. The counter-protesters hurled rocks at police and set barricades on fire. Unlike the Rome protesters, who showed up in full KKK garb, the Stone Mountain groups told reporters they were aiming for a more low-key appearance. The 24 members there were packing up their rally at the first sign of a supporter waving a KKK flag, unwilling to be associated with outward expressions of racism. Over at Stone Mountain, 9 people who rallied against the flag wavers were detained for refusing to take their masks off. In Rome, there was no trouble, but police also arrested 2 counter-protesters for disorderly conduct. However, protester numbers there were dwarfed by the counter-protesters, who numbered several hundred. There were minor incidents involving counter-protesters clashing with police as well, especially after showing up to the far-right rally only to be denied access by police fearful of confrontations. The large law enforcement presence was keeping watch the entire time, brought in by park officials to keep peace. We knew going into this that there were going to be confrontations because of opposing views. They feel very strongly on each side, a spokesperson at Stone Mountain said. We don't like this. We wish this wouldn't occur. We tried to stop it, but it's a First Amendment issue, he added. We wish these people would go away. This is a family-oriented park, and we're sick and tired of this, quite frankly. Despite the overwhelming view of the Confederate flag as racist, violent symbol, not everyone at Stone Mountain rally shared the opinion. Many said they felt their rights were trampled by violent counter-protesters and insisted that to them the Confederate flag is not about defending racism. One demonstrator told AJC that 99% of the protesters are peaceful, but this is what they're going to show on the news. This is in stark contrast to the Rome crowd, who were very outwardly right-wing. T-shirts read, "Heritage, not hate." One protester from Birmingham said, "We don't believe in carrying these flags for racist reasons. We don't believe the Civil War was over racism. It was over tyranny." The organizers told the AJC they predicted 2,000 attendees initially. That didn't happen, and the white supremacists were largely kept behind barricades. However, their small rally was declared a success by them. On the other side, people were also celebrating victory. We made a statement that we are not going to get intimidated by intimidated by and watched this terrorist group harass and incite fear and violence. Don O'Neill, who showed up to oppose the Confederates, told AJC, "We stood up to them today." So, from reading the story, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in a little bit here. It sounds to me like there was a group of people that were just wanting to have a rally celebrating a moment in history, Confederate Memorial Day. It sounds to me like that event got co-opted by these hate groups. I don't think this is coincidence whatsoever. They are doing everything they can. If you go in and you do your research on KKK and some of these other groups, you will find that it leads back to government affiliation. So what they're trying to do is not only change history in the minds and the hearts of the people, but they are trying to further divide the people. Because if you research into the Confederate flag, if you research into Abraham Lincoln, if you research into the Civil War, you find out the more you dig, the less and less that the whole slavery thing was even an issue in it. That was only one little part of what they were fighting for. One part. They were fighting for states' rights. Texas was fighting to keep its gold. But they're trying to change history now. And they're doing that by infiltrating these different rallies, just like they're infiltrating all the other rallies, otherwise known as protests, to cause more division, to cause more confusion, and to further their agenda. Don't fall for it, please.